Hello and welcome to Downriver Rescue Connection. I'm your host, Patty Radikovich, and it's my pleasure to bring you information on animal rescue community and animal rescues. On today's episode, we are talking about special needs pets. So I'd like to invite my guests to this episode. This is Jessica Myershock, who is a licensed vet tech, and this is Tara Muscat, who is a PAWS foster, and as well as the Love Me Because event adoption coordinator, coordinator. So,
thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So like I said, today's episode is going to be all about special needs pets, and we're also going to talk about a special event that PAWS of Michigan has developed called the Love Me Because event, and that event promotes special needs animal adoptions. So we're going to bring out a few of the animals right now. All the animals that you're going to see today on the show are actually PAWS animals, and these are all special needs animals. So before we get into anything, I wanted to bring a couple of them out. So let's start with Skylar. Skylar is a cat that is available through PAWS. This is Skylar.
Hi,
And Skylar is about 10 to 12 years old. She was adopted out, but she was returned after 5 years in her new home just because they were moving. She was rescued from the Wyandotte Animal Shelter. She does have asthma. That's her special need. She takes medication for that. It costs $20 a month. She still has an occasional cough. She does have cataracts in her right eye, and she did have a worse case of cataracts in her left eye, and now that left her with no vision. She is a very cuddly cat, loves people, loves kids, but she prefers a home with no cats. She's not fond of other cats, so.
Okay, well, thank you for telling us about Skylar. So like I said, Skylar's available through PAWS of Michigan, and then we're going to show you one of the dogs. One of the names she goes by is Daisy. She has a variety of names. You can hear her coming on out.
Hi, honey.
Yeah, she also has been called Skittles and Diamond. She's a 2.5-year-old fox terrier mix with extreme allergies to about 20 different items. She has been tested, and some of her allergens are beef, salmon, barley, sweet potatoes, corn, flax, ragweed, blue and ryegrass, and sycamore trees. Because of Daisy's allergies, she has been bounced around between foster homes and families attempting to adopt her a number of times. Even with all the change, she's still a very loving dog that is happiest sitting next to the female of the household. Because she gets into things that she shouldn't, Daisy is trained for nighttime and when the family is gone, but she expects to be let out immediately when the family returns or we awaken, because she lets you know verbally that you should get her out. Daisy would be best in a household without cats, as she will chase them, and is also very allergic to their food, which she is very obsessed with eating. She prefers people over other dogs and could very easily be an only dog. Right now, Daisy is limited to a dog food called Instinct in only the lamb or turkey flavors. That runs between $16 and $18 for a 4.4-pound bag. She will probably be off and on steroids most of her life for allergies, or she could possibly receive the allergen injections. The injections would probably run between $300-400. To commit to this dog, you have to know that there will be some expenses with the steroids and different medicines she'll have to take. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you for telling us about Daisy, and this is Daisy. And the reason why, go ahead, let her go. The reason why I wanted to bring we have two more animals that will be on the show a little later. What I wanted to bring those out even before we get started is because they look just like any other cat or dog, and I wanted to get that message across. So what is a special needs pet?
Special needs pet can be anything from behavioral allergies. They could have a limp, blindness. Even sometimes they will put a special needs on, the slightest deformation or anything like that. And an animal can compensate for in other ways, whether it's like with the cat we've seen, she's blind in an eye and having cataracts in the other eye. She can compensate other ways. I mean, cats are very good animals. They know their way around. They know their surroundings. And two, with the allergy, you can do different things. Keeping them on a grain-free food, adding a raw organic egg to their food, fish oil tablets, Benadryl over the counter, are some just easy things you can do, to help with allergies during allergy season. So just because you see something that says special needs doesn't mean it's a throwaway animal. Actually, you can end up being more close to these animals because you've taken the time to get to know these animals.
Right. That's a great point, is that, yeah, sometimes when you spend more time with them, the bonding increases. So, and that's something that just because we label them as special needs, like you said, the animals compensate, the animals don't know that they're special needs.
Exactly.
So what do you consider special needs?
Well, special needs is always, an illness, a deformation. Special needs can also come right down to being a black cat or being your typical black lab. They get passed over a lot in shelters, unfortunately, only because they kind of blend in. And that seems unfortunate. It doesn't necessarily mean they have a special need, but it puts them in a place that makes them harder to get adopted, which to me is also a special need. Special need can be behavioral. There's just little things that aren't really a special need, but it makes them a special need, especially if they're in a rescue or shelter, because it makes them a little bit harder to get adopted and get into their own home. But it's a reason to love the pet, to cherish the pet, and that's what we like to remind you, is that, just because, whether it be color, whether it be a little behavioral issue that, cat doesn't like another cat or dog doesn't like another dog, they still can be wonderful pets, and it's a reason to love them.
Great. That's a good response. I think that's a good point that you brought up, is that there is a differentiation between special needs in the medical field and veterinary profession and special needs in a rescue, because the special needs in a rescue is an animal that's harder to adopt. And you can go and adopt that animal and take it to the vet, but the vet won't label it as special needs. So for example, it could be a black dog or cat, or a cat that's a little bit shyer, or a dog that's a little bit shy. And that's going to, the shyness is something behavioral, that's going to involve a little bit more of your time. But it's not necessarily going to translate into more dollars because it's special needs. So, when people are looking to adopt a pet, especially on some of the websites that will label special needs, like on Pet Finder, you see that little heart, don't automatically bypass that because there's a little heart next to it. It could just mean that the rescue is like, hey, this animal has been sitting around for a year for no fault of its own, and it's harder to adopt because it's being overlooked. Go ahead and look at that.
And there's certain breeds that just do not do well in shelters, like your huskies. They just don't do well. A lot
Beagles.
of a lot of your northern breed boxers don't do well. They tend to just kind of wither. I have an example of one dog that he was at a shelter that I had worked at for over a year. We had taken his adoption down to $25. The fact is, he wouldn't get up to look at anyone because he knew that nobody was coming to look at him. I finally had this guy come in, and I said, give him a chance. And he was very cage aggressive. And I said, so he wasn't towards me, so I said, hold my hand. And we put our hands up together, and I said, no, Riley, don't do it. And he wouldn't do it to me. And I said, just give him a chance outside. And as soon as he went outside, he was such a gentleman of a dog, and the guy fell in love and took him home, and he's been in the home now forever. And he was a pit bull mix, and so right there puts that, that stigma of the pit bull, on him, unfortunately. And it's just the fact that people overlook certain breeds, and certain breeds aren't going to do well. Like you said, like the beagles, they have a hard time.
They spend most of the time barking.
Exactly. And certain people don't want to do that. Sometimes shepherds will get a little aggressive, in shelters, and so they'll be overlooked, or you'll have somebody that's working in the shelter that doesn't have experience with behavior and will just label it a bad dog, and even tell people, you don't want that dog, or look at this one, type of thing. And unfortunately, that's kind of the world we're living in right now. And, with shows like this and with, great rescues and things like that, we're getting out there educating people and letting them know, don't label these animals like this. Just take that time to get to know them. Like with Riley, if I wouldn't have took just that extra 10 minutes to show that guy, what a great dog he was, he'd probably still be in that shelter.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that the Love Me Because event does, is it actually highlights these animals, and it takes that extra time to showcase those pets, to show people that, hey, you don't have to be afraid of these animals. So can you tell us a little about the Love Me Because event? How did it get started? What is it?
So I was volunteering at the Wyandotte Animal Shelter for quite some time, and I noticed that some of my favorites just happened to always be there, always got overlooked. Super sweet if you get to know them, but the average person comes in to adopt, and they come in, they look, and it's, what they see to the eye. So they, fell in love with the calico, they fell in love with the gray tabby rubbing on the cage, where little black one might be sitting in the back, or not quite as outgoing, or even a little black kitten that would be rubbing on the cage, but, the little orange and white one beside it, it's eye-grabbing. So I thought, well, we need to have an event that we can showcase and put these guys as the highlight. These are the guys that you really want to adopt. These are the guys that need the homes. And, it empties up a cage for another pet that needs to be rescued. And the more you can keep the adoptions going, the more likely that we can get more animals moved and save more lives. And that's ultimately what we want to do. So we have this event once a year. It's in February. It's usually the second Saturday of the month. It's an all afternoon event. It's a great time. So this is, and all their cage cards say, this is why we want you to fall in love with them. This is why. This is not because they have an issue. Love me because I have an issue, but I'm a great animal. Give me a chance, basically, is what it's saying.
It sounds like a great event.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And so, and the event is sponsored, it's held at Hood's.
Hood's Do It Best.
Okay.
Hardware in Wyandotte on Ford,
Okay.
North Line. And it's it's a lot of fun. It's definitely worth popping in and taking part.
Great. And you said that's usually the second Saturday in February, so
Yep,
people
from
can.
12 to 5.
Okay, so people can.
There's
look out
lots
for
of
that
things
event.
going on. Even if you're not ready to adopt, come out, check out the bake sale, get involved in the silent auction or the raffle, meet some great people. There's lots. We have 5 different organizations that join us, and it's come out and learn. Ask questions, see
Great.
what you can do.
Great. So I wanted to give people some examples, some special needs pets, because we've all had special needs pet, whether fostered or on our own. So who would like to start? Does anybody have a story that they want to tell?
I've had quite a few special need foster, and I actually ended up adopting one. But my first 2 special need medical fosters were 2 young boxers that were amputees. One was an abuse case, and the other one ended up was because they had their knee, they never developed, and the owner was just giving the puppies away, just anywhere, and so they couldn't afford it. So I said, I talked to the coordinator at the shelter I was working. I said, I'll go ahead and I'll take on this animal, if you let me foster it. And they ended up being great dogs. They compensated for what they were doing. And even the dog that I have now, I ended up being a foster failure because I adopted him. He's blind. He's lived on the east side of Detroit his whole life. When I got him, he was already 8-year-old boxer with cancer. Blind. He was in that survival mode still. He wanted to eat my cat. He wanted to eat my garbage. He wanted to be on my walls. He wanted to do everything but you know what? He ended up being my children's favorite dog in the end, and it just took just a little bit, probably a month of just sticking with the training, getting them out, making sure, getting them neutered, that was the number one thing to do, and just sticking with them. And I've had him for 4 years, and he's a wonderful dog. I mean, just a wonderful dog. And even though he's blind, he does great. I mean, and I have like 3 floors in my house, and he runs along with the 2 younger boxers and does just great.
Great, great. So Tara, do you have a story to share?
Well, I've certainly been a foster failure too, so I can certainly recognize with that. I'm going to start with a Persian, actually, that ended up at the Wyandotte Animal Control, completely matted like carpet. His fur was like carpet. He was left abandoned in a house for 2 months. The people moved, took their dog, but didn't take the cat for whatever reason, we don't know. When he was found, he was down to approximately 4 pounds. And this was an adult, unneutered male cat. He was considered cryptorchid, which means he has one descended testicle and the other is like hidden treasure in his abdomen somewhere. So his surgery was pretty lengthy, and at that time we were able to shave him basically right to the skin, unfortunately. And he had to wear a little sweater. One of it said, "Having a bad hair day." And one of them said, "Does this t-shirt make me look chubby?" Well, he was like 4 pounds, so he was very shy. He was very, and if you've seen the pictures, beaten. Like was not beaten physically, but emotionally. There was just this blank look. He never ran from me, but he never did anything. He never enjoyed being pet. There was nothing. It took quite a long time, and actually that's how I got involved with Patty at Hood's. I went in because I knew she was a Persian person and asked her some questions. She came over and met him, and she fell in love with him. But it took me quite a while to get him to come out of that shell of being broken. But it's quite a great story. When I look at his pictures, it breaks my heart from when he first arrived to me to how he looks now. It's just this amazing transformation. He is now the most social cat. He acts like a dog. He greets people at the door. And it's just wonderful to see such a big transformation that only took a few years. And it just took a little extra love and a little extra compassion and a little bit of extra, just a little extra.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and all of mine have now become, all of my animals are special needs animals, but that's what our rescue does. So. But yeah, I mean, all of mine are usually medical special needs, and then the cats are usually behavioral special needs, meaning that I take the cats that are a little bit shyer, or some people might even consider some of them semi-feral, like they'd rather just come up and get their food and then don't bother me, and then
Slither away.
go away. And some of those cats, it's like, the way I work with them is I respect their boundaries, and I try to engage when it seems like they might want to engage in play or something. I try to engage them. And some of those cats, it took several years, like you said, it took several years to get to come around. But then once they did, it's like their personality blossomed. So yeah, I mean, and it's something that people, sometimes I think a lot of people, they don't start off by saying, "Oh, let me go get this, medical special needs animal." They have their own animal. Something happens, and then they learn what they need to do to take care of that animal. And then when the next one comes around, a lot of times they say, okay, maybe it's not so bad if I adopt one that's special needs. So a lot of times that's what happens.
It becomes like this, that it's a great feeling inside to know that you've made a difference in the life of an animal that may not have gotten a second chance. And that, I don't know, it just kind of warms you a little bit.
Right.
It does, yeah.
Well, I want to bring out the other 2 that we have on the show. So let's bring out Hazel. This is another dog that is available through Paws. And I apparently when Hazel was found, she was a big matted mess. And now she looks very cute.
Hazel is a 10-year-old mixed poodle who has been brought into the pound in really bad shape. She was diagnosed with a hernia, horrible dental, and many moles that were found to be non-cancerous. Hazel had her surgery on the hernia, dental, and moles on November 3rd, with the recovery time being a month. She's still having a little trouble using her back leg, but But at her day 10 checkup, the doctor didn't find anything medically wrong. So we just think because of her age and the extent of the surgery, it's just going to take a little longer for her to feel comfortable using it. Hazel is on a stool softener for at least a month, perhaps even longer. She's a real sweetheart and just loves to hang out on the couch with you all day. But beware, if you grab your purse and shoes because she knows you're going to go bye-bye, she insists on going with you. Hazel doesn't like cats very well and doesn't hear very well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for telling us about Hazel. And then we have one more kitty that's coming out. Okay. And who is this one that we have? Leah.
Oh, Leah.
Leah's not so sure about
gonna
being
tell
on
her own
camera.
story.
That's right.
This is Leah. She's probably about 12 years old at least. She was rescued out of the Taylor shelter. The ACO there did say that she was pregnant, needed to get her out of there ASAP. It just turned out that she was just nothing but a bag of bones. Belly was a little large at the time. She was probably only 8 pounds. As you can see, she's a really large cat. She's now up to 12 and a half pounds, and she still could stand to put on a few more pounds. When we first got her, she went through 2 big bowls of water. That was our first concern, and we took her in and did find out that she has diabetes. Her sugar at that time was 486. It should be about 120. She is now on medication for that. She gets insulin shots twice a day. She has on special food that we get at the vets, too, that is a low carb, and that keeps her sugar down low, too. She is very sweet. She lays with me every night to watch TV. She sleeps a lot. She prefers a quiet house, and she does prefer someone to be with her a lot. She's very affectionate. She would do really well in a house with probably a senior that just would like to cuddle with her a lot. So she does well with other dogs and cats as long as they don't get right in her territory there.
Great. Well, thanks for telling us about Leah. And as long as you don't put her under bright lights and in front of a camera, she'll be fine.
Say bye, Leah.
She wanted to talk too, so. And like we were saying, there's all different types of special needs pets, and we don't want people to be scared away by that term because it could just mean it's harder to adopt. And even if it is a special need medical problem, it really doesn't mean that it's going to cost you a lot of money depending on what the condition is. Obviously, some treatments cost more than others. Some things are actually very simple and easy to treat, like thyroid medication for a hyperthyroid cat or a hypothyroid dog. Usually runs about $40 a month, something like that. Sometimes you can get it for a little less. The diabetics, it could be a little bit more, but there's other animals that, it's less. So it just depends on, some some heart medications are only like $20 a month. So it just depends on the animal and talking to the vet and finding out what the best option. And most vets will work within people's budgets too to make sure that you get what you need, and there's other places.
I think if there's somebody that is diabetic, she would make a great addition to their home. They can relate, they can understand the signs, and so that might be an option for her too down the road, is to find a home that, where somebody has diabetes themselves and really
They're
would
already
like
used to it.
And to be sympathetic to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are there any messages that you really want to get across to people about special needs pets, something that you really want people to know?
I just want them to take the time to think it through, not just, say, this is just a throwaway animal. It's just like with people, you wouldn't throw away a special needs child or special needs person, or just because somebody's a little bit different, it doesn't mean anything, The animals are wonderful. They bring out the best in everybody, and I think that if you just take that little bit of extra time, I think that it will brighten up your world so much. And just take that time. Just take the time to even just think about it, a little bit.
Great, thanks.
I have to agree. Just give it a chance. Ask questions. Go to your vet. I caution Googling anything.
Yes.
Because you can get incorrect information, but do a little research, find out, ask questions, ask your shelters, tell me more, ask your rescue groups, educate me, teach me, tell me what I can do. Just give them that second chance. They really do deserve it in most cases.
Yeah, great. And I find like something that you had said at the beginning about the bonding is for the ones that have the behavioral or the medical issues, I do find that you actually have a closer bond with those animals because you have to work with them more and you're working with them more closely. So, you know, that's something that if you're looking for an animal that you really want a close bond with, you actually might want to consider something that's a special needs pet because you can develop that bond.
It's a great feeling to know that you've made a difference.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. All right, well, we are just about out of time, so I want to thank you for being on the show. So thanks, Jessica and Tara, and for everybody for
And thank
bringing
you
in
for
the
having
animals.
us.
So make sure to check out the Love Me Because Facebook page to find out when the next event is going to be if you're looking for a special needs pet, or you can look on any of the websites, Pet Finder. Of course, Basil's Buddies, we have lots of special needs pets. So we all look forward to a day where all animals are treated like pets and everyone has a home. Until that time, we invite you to be part of the solution. And remember, please spay and neuter your pets. See you next time.